All right, guys, we're live on video. Stand by for audio. All right, good day, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today, we actually have an interesting new format for you. We're bringing back a repeat co-host as well as a new co-host at the same exact time, totally modified format. We'll catch you guys up on that in a second. But these gentlemen have been spoken about on this show multiple times, even though one of them has never even been on. And I've gotten connected with them over the past 2-3 years now through travels to Western US to an event called Thrive, Make Money Matter. So today I'm bringing back the founder, Cole Hatter, and our new guest co-host is going to chime in and have some fun with us, the man with the moves, Legacy Perez. Welcome, guys. Welcome back.
Thanks for having us, bro. This is a fun on the fly format.
I'd say you just got to rock and roll, man. That's what life's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I want to tell the audience what happened. So this was supposed to be Sonia and I screwed up and forgot to tell my wife. So she was running out the door. Legacy was coming in the door, and I grabbed him instead. So special treat for the audience.
And Legacy is an up-and-coming, when he launches, podcaster. So, but you are in motion and you are recording shows, are you not?
I am in motion, and I have recorded some shows already. So
all right. So listen, if you need somebody to smack you around and motivate you, like I will do that, because once you get that first episode up, it's all momentum after that. So I'm now actually September 4th. So ladies and gentlemen, we're recording this at the end of August because I want to get these shows up ASAP, because Thrive Make Money Matters coming up. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I've actually already aired 205 shows, 2 per week, since September 4th of 2016. Wow. So you guys have been talked about a lot on this show, because after the very first Thrive, my boy Michael O'Neill was like the maitre d', kind of helping you guys run the event. That's why I went out to support him. And then I find Thrive, and I'm hooked on it and come back ever since. But we've aired, oh God, I lost track of count. We're probably close to over 30 Thrive Tribe people. I keep meeting them. I either record live at the event, which I did last year and the year before, or we're following up afterwards and just getting people's names, their brands out there, building the community. So I think last time you were on, Cole, I think we joked around like, man, we could probably like rebrand the show like Thrivecast.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's great. And that just goes to show the quality of the attendee. We've done 3 Thrives now. This is Thrive number 4 coming up in a couple of weeks. And we pass out a survey or a digital survey at the end of each one and ask them their favorite stuff. Like, what was your best favorite part of the whole event? And we've had incredible speakers, from Gary Vaynerchuk to Robert Herjavec to Jack Canfield to Grant Cardone to Ty Lopez. So you're expecting them to, pick one of these legendary, iconic entrepreneurs. And of course, some do. But the number one most common answer from thousands of attendees and thousands of surveys is their number one favorite part was the attendees. The speakers were great. The venue was great. Everything was great. But meeting Scott or meeting Legacy or meeting whoever was the best part. And so it's really it's no surprise that you have had 30 plus guests on the show through the Thrive Tribe, because we're very blessed, and I can't take any credit for that. Maybe we're clearing the marketing. I don't know. But the people who decide to show up are awesome human beings.
Well, I mean, the new marketing, actually, speaking of marketing, I ran into your boy at a podcast movement down in Philadelphia a few weeks back. I think somebody's back on the team, or you guys have been changing things up again.
Who'd you run into?
Oh God, was it John?
Oh, John Dennis?
Yeah,
John Dennis, he's an OG, man. He's one of the wizards behind the curtain. So our team has grown. We have about 30 people now. But so John is one of the wizards behind the curtain, pulling all the knobs to make Thrive work. And so I just got back 2 hours ago from Monterey Bay. I was up there for Supercar Week. And it's funny, I almost feel kind of like Ty Lopez in a sense that when you're around the audience you're targeting on Facebook and you spend the type of money we're spending right now, random people, like 4 different random people, walked up to me that I never met before, and they're like, "Hey, are you Cole?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Dude, you're all over my Facebook. You're all over my Instagram. Every time I get on there, you're freaking telling me to come to Thrive." And I'm like, sorry about that. I got you, right? Like you touched the wrong button or you clicked something, and now I'm retargeting you. But anyway,
it happens here too. Like I was recording with somebody the other night, and like towards the end of the show, I was like, "Oh yeah, man." I was like, "Listen, you got that right entrepreneurial energy. I loved what we were discussing." And I was like, "Listen, if you haven't gone there yet, man, you got to go check out attendthrive.com." And he's like, "Thrive." I'm like, "Yeah, make money matter." He's like, "Oh, dude, Yeah, I heard about that event. I've been seeing that pop up my feed as well.
Yeah. It's just funny, these random people, because I'm wearing my Black Thrive hat. So they're like, dude, your face is in my computer. Anyway, enough of all that. So, yeah, John is one of the guys making that magic happen, and our team has grown. But, yeah.
Well, I think that's a great example of actually why we're talking today and why we kind of went off the cuff and decided, hey, let's still record anyway because Legacy's in the house. Because this is about teamwork. And in the entrepreneurial world, like even though I'm a solopreneur, right, using Michael's branding, I still can't do everything myself. I have virtual teams, right? I outsource because I'm like, listen, work with my strengths, outsource the weaknesses, whatever. But isn't that part of not just growing this event, but also what has helped you build the businesses that you guys have been doing?
Yeah, I'm going to let Legacy answer second to this one because I want to give him some props up front. But I had this conversation yesterday with my buddy Josh. So Josh runs a tech firm up in Canada, actually. He just hired his 40th employee. He's going to have somewhere around 100 employees within a year. It's going to be a big company. You know, he already has HR, payroll, the whole deal, legal department. It's going to be a big company, and he's looking forward to having a $500 million exit. That's his goal within the next probably 36 to 48 months. But not to expose Josh, I have 5 actual employees and then 20 plus independent contractors, from as small as, hey, will you create a logo, to they're working 40 hours a week, but they're getting a 1099. They don't even work here. Like John Dennis, he's in Florida, I'm in California, but he's cranking 20 plus hours a week for my organization. I'm compensating him, right? Yep. And so at the end of the year, I'm doing very well, netting 7 figures and doing multiple 7 figures in my business. But let's just create round numbers. If my businesses were to make $3 to $5 million and I'm able to keep half, versus a business where the company is generating 100 million, but the CEO is only making 1 to 2 million, right? It's like at the end of the day, I'm making as much money, but I'm doing it not as a solopreneur, but without the big business aspect. And so I was talking to Josh about how cool it is with the internet and social media and outsourcing, that you can run a business where you are making millions of dollars a year without having a huge team. Our own mentor, Than Merrill, did almost $400 million last year, $388 million.
That's crazy.
He has over 500 employees, and he makes almost all of his money in the real estate world. I have no idea what he pays himself from his education company that has the 500 employees, but I'll bet you at the end of the day what his salary as a CEO of that is probably near what I'm making myself, because he's super generous and reinvests almost all the money. So this is no slam at Than. He should pay himself more, but he doesn't, because he's making gazillions of dollars in real estate. So at the end of the day, for the listeners to kind of food for thought, do you really need to go hire 500 employees to make a few $1,000,000 a year? Or can you have a half dozen and most or all are virtual and still make a few $500,000 a year? I'll pass off to Legacy, who's celebrating his first 7-figure year last year and going to do it again this year. We're only in August, and I'm thinking probably already over 7 figures. And his team consists of him and his girlfriend. Okay. So you want to expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it takes a certain person to want that kind of business, like 500 employees. I thought in the beginning we may have wanted to have an office and an office space and have employees and desks. And I was like, if we don't need to, it's so much overhead, so much so much like hard work. Yeah, it's a machine that you have to oil. And I feel like with what we have now, it's sufficient to have our 2 employees, the CEOs of it, Patricia and myself. And then we have our realtor agents that work alongside us. So they're independent contractors. We pay them to list houses or find properties. And so for us, it's easier to do it that way, where if I need to hire a virtual assistant or something like that, then I do that, or somebody like a personal assistant. But other than that, I think it works the way we're doing it, and we really like it that way. It's really cool.
Well, I think what you guys are sharing is some people call this a hack. It's not necessarily a hack. Like, I spent years in the corporate space, then did the firefighting thing as an escape, and then became more entrepreneurial. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, but I saw the struggle because my dad was a classic solopreneur. It was him and that was it. There was no other team. Like, even my younger brother started working for him, and he wasn't like replicating himself. But now my brother literally split off and just started his own company because he's like, hey, fine, you do you, I do me, and that's it. So, but I saw all that and I said, I want nothing to do with that. I just want nothing to do with it.
And to not to cut you off, but to add to what I'm saying is, obviously there's a lot of components, and we've broken the company up into half and half, and Patricia does her half and I do mine, which is hers the design, running numbers and doing like analysis, and mine is raising the money, having the negotiations, selling, buying, and so the acquisitions part. So together we do that. But I feel like long term, if we get multiple properties and I'm doing other businesses as well, I feel like at that point we can bring in somebody that will kind of outsource what we do and pay them a salary per se, so that they can be running the business in our position, but not like not someone that wants to start a real estate investment business, but someone that wants to manage a business like ours. So I think that's our next step. So it frees up some more of our time so that we could do more things. And all this stuff, by the way, talking about teams is really important, because I feel like I have my level of education, but I feel like without having Patricia, Cole, and the people around me that were my mentors and to guide me in this kind of like this dialogue or these thoughts that I'm having now, to be able to take it to the next level, without having those people as my team. Like I consider Cole my team, meaning my team as a mentor.
I was gonna say, where's my paycheck?
It's like having those people around you is so important. And I think when you go to Thrive and when you have that level of idea coming from the top, and you have all these amazing speakers and you have the attendees, that's where you start networking and having those relationships with people that could take you to the next level. And that's I'm like the prime example of that. I started from nothing and meeting the right people, the right timing, doing the right thing, putting in the hard work, the effort, investing in myself, going to events and making sure that I'm doing what I could possibly be doing to be the best version of me, is how I've become the person I am today, alongside with Patricia. So
nice. Well, so would you say, because obviously I know obviously Cole was one of your mentors, and I think great point, by the way, there's two levels of that teamwork component. It's not just the team is not just a team like with you or under you, so to speak, but it's the team above you and around you that's your influencers, which is why I use the hashtag Thrive Tribe so much, right? Like Thrive Tribe was created at the event. And I mean, Cole, you have your own mastermind group and everything else, but there's so many different communities that you can be plugging yourself into to get that teamwork mindset going.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's super important. A lot of people talk about self-made. I don't know anybody that's quote unquote self-made. You know, people call me self-made. And I think it's because I wasn't handed anything. I've built everything from the ground up, but I built it with a team. So, you know, I looked at the richest people in the world, and of the top 15, half of them are Waltons who inherited money from their dad, Sam, with Walmart. And so you would say they're not self-made, they inherited it. So I don't want to take away from anyone out there who feels that, no, I wasn't given anything. I had an idea and I built it from the ground up all by myself. Okay, the idea, sure, and nobody handed you anything, but there's no one I've ever met in my life that made all their money and all their success, like literally in their basement of their house, like stitching things together and selling it on the internet without anybody doing anything for them. So anyway, but yeah, so the point of that is to say team is super important. Choosing the right team is super important. And putting yourself in the space to meet people who will bring you to the next level is also important, right?
Yeah, that ties it back to the event piece of it. Like Michael talks about this. I talk about this. Like guys, like the power of networking and just getting out to events is crucial. Like you have to, I don't want to say unplug. You just have to plug into a different environment from time to time.
Bingo.
And surround yourself, right? You don't have to unplug, but just plug into a new circle. I mean, Legacy, what are you feeling off of that?
It's like habits, like habits. Like you have, it's not necessarily unplugging from your old habits. It's just replacing them with the new habits. So when you go to an event like Thrive or an event for that matter, you have the ability to meet people that have like-minded. I think it was in a book. What was it? How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. He says if he lost all his money and all his wealth, what he would do is just go to an event or somewhere where people congregated that had a like mind, that wanted to achieve high results, and almost as if it were magic, he said he'd get his wealth back. So it's something that tells you that throughout the history of people becoming successful, that is a big component. So having a circle of friends that you may have now, and then going, okay, I'm going to go to a new event and getting a new circle of friends, that people that do different businesses or different different services or products. I feel like if you meet those people, you have a different idea or a different, how you say, a different like mindset towards how you can do business in different areas. And that just overall full circle makes it a lot easier to succeed.
Share one thing that I think is cool. My wife is not a car person. I am. And whenever I put her...
Cole's a car person? No.
Yeah. And whenever I put her in one of my cars, she always yells at me and I'll never do this again. So just as I said in the beginning of this, got back from Monterey Car Week, which is the biggest, craziest thing in the world. And my wife went with me to be a supportive wife. Check this out. For those of you listening to the audio, you're going to want to go find the video. But this is my wife. She took this picture literally yesterday. I don't know if you can see it on your phone.
Right there, actually. Hold on.
You got it? So who she's standing next to right now is the president of Aston Martin, who is one of two women in all of the automotive industry to have that role. And so Aston Martin, obviously a badass brand. My wife's up there, and she and that woman just broed out and spent about an hour together, exchanged contact information. Turns out that woman only lives 20 minutes away. You would think she lives in the UK. She did for 4 years, but promoted so high that she has an office in Irvine here in Southern California, in Orange County, where she runs it. So this is the president of all of Aston Martin. Her and my wife, she has a 2-year-old. My wife obviously has our 5 and our 2-year-old. They're going to connect. They're going to do copy, and they're going to be homies. And I was literally talking this morning to my wife on our flight home because we were exhausted. and she's like, meeting that woman was a great opportunity I would have never had if I didn't come. And I said to her, see how cool that is, that like in my wife's circle of friends, not all of them are entrepreneurial. And then some of them that are, like, for instance, Patricia hasn't yet married or had children yet with legacy. So to find a woman who, although this woman you couldn't necessarily say is an entrepreneur because she's the president of Aston Martin, but as a president, you're operating as an entrepreneur for sure. You're running the whole freaking company. So to have someone who is farther down the road than her, who is a mother and a wife, who's killing the game running a company like Aston Martin, is a huge value and a huge asset. And it's not like there's an angle, like they'll just be friends, but that's a good person to have in my wife's life. And so that just happened like this time yesterday. And I think it's cool that my wife, who has no interest in cars, thinks that they all suck and doesn't care if it's a 20-year-old Honda Civic or a brand new freaking McLaren. She doesn't care, but went with me, met this woman. They exchanged contact information, and I imagine are going to become great friends. And now my wife gets to hang out with the president of Aston Martin because she went up there, met new people, and tried new things. So I just want to illustrate what Legacy was just teaching with my wife, who now has, who wouldn't want to just have the contact info with the president of Aston Martin?
That's crazy. And it's total accidental or what? Like just
what's an accident, right? But so we were there, we were walking around, and I don't remember why we approached her or who approached who first, because I was in La La Land looking at all the cars. But she and my wife instantly had rapport, and she took us on a tour. So there were about 30 Aston Martins there, and then the concept cars that don't come out till 2021 and 2025. So we got to see those concept cars. And she, the president, gave us the tour for an hour of explaining what everything did. And they're going to have drones, right? Aston Martin's creating drones for the future that they are going to mass produce for the public. And so they had drones on display. And she's explaining that we're not allowed to call them drones. They got to call them personal something flight, something or another's. And so after spending an hour with her, her and my wife were like BFFs. So anyway, just for context, for anyone listening to this, you might need to put yourself in a different position than normal, like Legacy was saying, to meet new people. And there you go.
Well, yeah, you don't have to necessarily, unless it's required at that event, but you don't necessarily have to go own the supercar. But why not get yourself in an environment that you're surrounded with people at a much different playing level?
Totally.
Especially professional level. It's on a quick side note, making drones. I wish this was happening sooner because since I talked to you last, I'm finally obviously getting married after 40 years. So, eventually I man up sooner or later.
Congrats, bro.
That's why I try and tell, because my fiance is very patient now. Anyway, we're not traditional. We don't have kids. We don't want kids. That's fine. So our wedding is going to be in Banff, Canada. And we're doing it at the end of March because we're big skiers, and we're doing a heli skiing wedding. So nice. It's like helicopters flying in the backcountry, drop in. But here's the problem. I wanted to bring drones because I want to kind of one-up Red Bull and release this adrenaline junkie movie, skiing, but for a wedding. Apparently drones are illegal in all of Canada because of airspace. But maybe I could rebrand it as a personal flight device.
Yeah, like a camera recording moving unit.
Yeah,
make that an acronym.
Well, we just booked we booked 2 helicopters, one for the advanced people like us, and then one for her actual parents
Yeah.
are going heli skiing. So
Here's all I would say about that. First of all, God bless Canada, right? But all else I would say is sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I didn't say that publicly, but I mean, if you're flying a drone 30 feet off of a mountain, let's hope there's no plane in that flight path, because that would be a bad day for that airplane. So sometimes it's just easier to say sorry than it is to ask for permission.
True.
Just throwing that out into the universe.
It's not a bad idea, because Amelia, I don't know what mountains they're flying us to, and they are remote. So that's a good point. And actually, they do say, listen, they actually give you all the gear. Like, we have gear, but they give you all the backcountry skis, the avalanche kits, everything else. And I'm avalanche trained, so I'm good. So I'm like, sweet, I don't have to go buy that stuff. I'm still going to do it anyway. But
I have a question. How do you get trained to get ran over by an avalanche? Like, you're avalanche trained. What does that mean? You know how to dig out of snow?
Rescue recovery, how to dig out your buddy. So
okay, I was gonna say, I'm avalanche. Yeah, I'm tsunami trained too. Just to freaking swim up. I don't know how you can be trained to get hit by 8.
You possibly could swim up, but the snow is a little heavier as far as that wave of snow that's going over top of you. But it's how to survive the actual avalanche, and then also getting to people fast, digging them out, having a snow probe.
That makes sense. But, I was just thinking, like, here's how to get hit by snow and try to survive.
Put your arm up and duck.
Yes, that is part of the course. Actually, they teach you how to properly tuck and roll.
Oh man, right on. Oh, hey man, hopefully that's the training you never need.
Exactly. I mean, I used to live in Colorado, so I already have it.
Child CPR. As an EMT paramedic, I knew that, but my wife took it for kids. It's a training you hope you never need.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm trained in all that as well. Obviously, former fire as well. I was the wilderness world, and you were the city world. So,
right.
But yeah, it's the same fundamentals. But anyway, the cool thing is that they're going to at least give you, because this is like a higher level thing. Like, the average person doesn't go book a heli skiing trip for a wedding. So because you're reserving a couple helicopters and stuff, like, okay, they're giving you. You can rent GoPros and everything else if you don't own.
What's it cost to go backcountry heli skiing?
A few grand. I mean,
yeah, that's cool.
You're renting time on the helicopter. You're not actually reserving the whole helicopter to yourself unless you have enough people to book the whole flight. Like, we're definitely going to have enough people to book that helicopter, but then when they fly back, they can pick up other people at their helipad.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. The only time I've ever used a helicopter was local, like to go from here to Catalina for the day, or one time my wife had an interview in LA and we didn't want to deal with the traffic, so we flew one up. But I'm just wondering how much more expensive it is when you're getting dropped off on top of a mountain. But that's something I've wanted to do. I'm not a skier, I'm a snowboarder. That was my jam for a long time. Even did it semi-pro where I was getting paid to do it. I didn't know that. Oh, you didn't know that?
No, bro.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna have to bust out some of the old pictures,
What?
bro.
I was gonna say, you and I talked about this, Cole. How does Legacy not know this?
Hey, we be talking about future business.
Yeah, we just talk real estate.
Yeah.
See, again, that's what you got. You guys are normally in hustle mode, and you miss some of those unique.
No, we have a couple Corona.
Coronas. But so before we press record, you wanted to talk real estate. So
yeah.
This guy has been known to dabble a bit in real estate.
Am I?
I've done it for these 13 years now. So
this guy's the guru.
Yeah, Cole, you lost it all and built it back again.
I had it, lost it, built it. So let me just start with this, because for anybody who's not doing real estate, they might say, oh, this is the part of the show I'm going to tune out for because real estate's not my thing. I think every single human on earth should buy and hold real estate. I do not think every single human on earth should buy, fix, and flip real estate as an active income source or a career. I think that some people are too risk adverse and just quite frankly don't have the thickness of skin required for this industry. But I do think that every doctor or every attorney or every school teacher or every podcast host who monetizes their podcast or every freaking person that makes money any way legally allowed to make money should pay their bills, and instead of putting it into a freaking CD at 0.25%, should buy and hold real estate. So want to start that to the listener right now that if you don't own real estate now, you should. And maybe we can talk about some of the acquisition strategies or whatever questions you have, because I know that that's a goal of yours, Scott, is to get more into real estate. Definitely want to throw that out there.
We're so entry level right now because luckily my fiance bought this property from her family's estate. It was her great grandmother's house. Their big commercial construction family's company was founded in my garage. So it's cool. Because
you got good mojo.
Yeah. So in the 80s, they split this house in half and the upstairs was turned into an apartment. So we have the entire first floor, but we have a tenant. So we have a tenant who basically pays the mortgage. And,
Wow.
and then I have a 3,000 square foot garage out back that I spent the past 3 years gutting. And now I'm storing other people's nice cars in there because I monetized that property too. So,
Nice.
I mean, I also kept a little bit of space for my mountain bike shop and my CrossFit gym and everything else. But other than that, it's all monetized. I got a guy moving in 2 antique FJ Cruisers and a Jeep, I think, actually next week. So,
Cool.
yeah. But the other guy, he's got like, he's like a car flipper. I don't know. He's like a Adam Carolla or something. I don't know. I never know what's in there. I'll go in there. There's like a Porsche. Then another time there's like a Lambo. I just never know what's popping in there.
I'm the worst car flipper in the world.
Because you fall in love with them and you hold on to them.
Exactly. Every car I own, I bought to flip. And they're all still here. Every single one. I've never once flipped a car, but I bought a lot that I said I was going to flip.
Well, so to answer the real estate thing, obviously, she already restored the first floor. So my master plan is in the next hopefully 1 year, 2 years, we're already looking at other properties, because then we're going to fully monetize this property, get a higher end tenant here where we're living now, and then move on to the next step. It's just, I keep telling her, I'm like, I love the fact that the property's paid for by other people. So I actually don't want to move, but she wants.
This is the absolute best place for a non-investor who wants to create passive income and wealth to start. This is what I tell people, Cole, I understand the power of real estate. I understand that it creates more millionaires than anything else. And it's the number one place Americans hold their wealth is in real estate. Number 2 is in their retirement accounts. But I don't know how to start. I don't know how to manage tenants. I would say go buy a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. 5 units or more is commercial. That's a different animal. But 4 units or less is residential. Live in one. Let your renters pay all your bills. And then that's the best place to start. You get all the tax benefits, all the appreciation, all of that, while collecting rents from your tenants. And in that type, I am pro property management, but in that type of scenario, it might be something you manage yourself because you share a common wall almost always, or a floor. Mm-hmm. And so it's just cash flow coming in. And I'm helping a buddy of mine right now, the guy that's running security at Thrive, who you might have seen. He's a freaking huge dude.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's in the process of shopping for like a triplex right now to live in one and rent out the others. And that's like the best place to get started. So
yeah, my biggest problem is I agree with you 100%, but she wants that, hey, we have our own place.
Oh, yeah. So that's where you start. Yeah. Then you get your own residence, and then you just keep doing it. Keep buying duplexes, triplexes, homes, or even apartments. In the Midwest right now, I would highly recommend people start buying C+, B- grade properties in the 15 to 50 unit range. Mm-hmm. Obviously, 50 units is a bigger animal, but that's about a $2.5 million property in the Midwest, which is a lot. It's crazy to think that like what I paid for the house we're sitting right now, and I can get 50 units right now. Bobby just sent me a deal, 55 units in Nashville, 55 units in Nashville for $1.3 million. It's like,
really?
That's like my down payment.
I figured Nashville would have a higher value than that.
No, so it's beat up. It's 100% empty. All 55 units are empty, and all of them need to be renovated. The ARV on it would be about $6 million, but I could still buy 55 units for like a down payment on a house in Orange County. It's crazy.
See, I follow Grant like crazy, so you're speaking like Grant language to me as well. So
yeah, Grant and I agree on 95 to 97% of real estate. That 3 to 5% we disagree on is what we like to talk about most, because we 100% see eye to eye almost on everything.
I'm like in the 3 to 5% that they talk about.
Yeah, cap rates and where to buy your real estate and doing residential. He says doing residential deals is for idiots. It's like, cool, I became a millionaire investing in residential real estate, so I think you're wrong there. And I've made a lot of money.
What if somebody doesn't want that where Grant is today, right? Like you're hinting at that commercial level. What if people are happy? They like that whole, 3 to 5, 3 to 10 type unit stuff. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, that's cool. So it's all about risk tolerance. It's all about skill sets. If real estate was easy, who would do it? Everybody. So there's obviously systems that need to be learned. Legacy and Patricia's first year was ugly. And the last year they made over $1 million. And this year they will again. What happened? They learned the system one step at a time. They kept their head down long enough. And then as the systems got implemented, they're able to scale, monetize. And now they're in the 1% of people that actually make 7 figures a year investing in real estate. So that being said, when it comes to those sized units you were just talking about, like the triplex to the 10 units, I think is tolerable, especially in the Midwest. We're talking, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 buildings. And I think it's great. So the one thing people should look for is passive income. Flipping real estate will make you, money today, but if you stop flipping real estate, you stop making money. Everybody should figure out how to buy and hold real estate. And I think that houses are great. I think that you should all have some of those in your portfolio. But if I can buy 10 homes or a 10-unit apartment building, I would probably, from a cash flow perspective, want a building, because it's easier to manage one building with 10 units than it is 10 houses. From an appreciation, liquidation, and I guess spreading out your investment, like not having all your marbles in one basket, the houses makes sense, because the houses could be in different parts of the city, or even in different cities, or even in different states, where if one local city gets hit hard like a Detroit did in the last recession, but other cities that didn't even feel it, like, who didn't even feel it?
Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle did well. Seattle doesn't cash flow well, though, because the prices are so expensive, similar to California.
Yeah,
like Memphis didn't even see a decline in real estate value. So it's give and take, by having a bunch of houses, you're spread out. So that's more management issues, but that is more diversification. Having a building, it's easy. You just collect rents. But if something bad happens in that area, like a natural disaster, like a freaking avalanche or something, right? Then you've just lost your whole investment, where if it had been homes, it could have been spread out. So I recommend getting an education first, but then buying and holding for sure.
Yep.
Well, I have a big question, but I had to pause because I heard Legacy jump in there on that. He's in that 3 to 5%. We'll just agree to disagree area. So what are you hinting at, Legacy? Like why
just I love, like, I appreciate Grant Cardone. He's gangster. He has a mission, and he's his thing is commercial. For me, I make my money and our income through real estate, and I feel like never in my life have I ever had a vehicle like that has brought me this much this much money.
You just had a closing. Tell them, how much what was on that settlement statement that's being sent to you from the title company on the house you just closed?
$225,000.
So Grant Cardone's on his microphone telling the world it's a sucker's game. Don't screw around with the residential. And was that Monday, Tuesday?
That was it was two nights ago. And we close on it on Friday. That's coming up.
So we got a settlement statement saying, hey, here's the way. Now that we know that we're closing, we've done the math. Here's what you're going to make. And he'll get that check this coming week.
Coming Friday.
So 1 week from today, 7 days from today, he'll be holding a check for $225,000. Yep. That's one of 8 deals he's working on right now. So he's got $1 million worth of income in just the profit of the deals he's working on right now if he never bought another one. Grant tells the world don't do it. And so for Grant's perspective, what we disagree, and this isn't slamming Grant. Like I said, Grant's a good friend of mine. He spoke at Thrive last 2 years. Yeah. What he has agreed on his show, when I was on his show arguing with him, is that because Cardone Enterprises makes $150 million a year, then why should he mess around chasing $225,000 profits? Yeah. If you're making $150 million a year, I completely agree. Don't go touch houses. Go buy 400-unit apartment buildings like he is that takes $28 million down, because you're making $150 million a year. But for the rest of us that are not making
that level, right? He wasn't always at that level. And
right.
To your point, that frees up the market for somebody like Legacy to move in and take that chunk of the market.
Right. So for all the Cardone loyalists out there, good friend of mine, love him. And I literally had this conversation with him on my show, or on his show, on his real estate investing show. But, and he agrees to it. You can even see it on my Facebook page that he's like, good point. Okay. So for people that are not making $150 million a year and who are not Grant Cardone, $225,000 paychecks,
don't suck.
8 to 10 times a year isn't poverty. And then with that type of capital coming in, you get to live whatever type of life you want and have enough left over to go and buy and hold commercial real estate. If you're already making like my buddy Josh, who I just said goodbye to this morning, he probably doesn't need to mess around with residential because he's in a business that's a tech company that's making $10 million a year, and it supports him and gives him enough resources to go and buy real estate without needing to flip it. So it is I guess on a financial individual level.
The outstanding question that popped in my head then is, because I was at a recent event down in Philadelphia 2 months ago, a big Tony Robbins event, but there was a bunch of different speakers, and one of them was a real estate guy, and he's got his own little thing. And it's this whole thing of, hey, it's okay if you don't have the money. There's investors out there who do have the money, so you need to plug yourself into that community, and then you can use other people's money to do you know what I'm talking about? Is that some of your formula where you have money?
Let's let the student protege over here answer that question. Let's see if you heard.
All
right. So what was the question?
No, come on.
No.
Other people's money. Making money with other people's money.
Yeah. So I one of the things that I used to read back when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and all those books, I realized that they kept talking about OPM, and I was like, what is OPM? What is OPM? And I finally learned other people's money. And then as I started to learn from Cole and Dan and the program that I was in, I felt like that started becoming the topic of conversation in order to build wealth, because I had probably to my name, I had about $3,000 cash. And I had a couple of things like jewelry and a motorcycle and a 1991 Acura NSX. But besides that, I had about 27 cents in my account, both accounts. And I was in a very, very bad time in life. And so when I heard—
That's when we met.
That's when we met. And so when I heard other people's money, I'm like, wow, you could do this. And I learned how to do that. I wouldn't do it any other way. I'm leveraging other people's money, but it's not the angle of, oh, I'm going to use people's money to get rich. I'm actually giving them a great return on their money that they wouldn't get otherwise if they weren't going through my company investing with me, and at the same time utilizing with the knowledge that I know to leverage to make high profits. So for me, I've never used any of my own money when I'm borrowing money up to, I think right now we have like about $8 to $12 million in debt, which is what we call good debt, and bringing,
because that represents 10 to 15 million worth of real estate.
Absolutely.
So he owes, let's just round it off to 10 million. He owes $10 million, but if he sold it all, he'd have $12 million, pay the 10 million off, keep 2 for himself. So that's the point of leverage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's creative financing. It's private lenders, hard money lenders. And for the listeners, if you want to write this down, it's called asset-based lending. Legacy, you've borrowed tens of millions of dollars in your career at this point. How many times for any of that have you been asked for a credit report, tax return, bank statements, or any of that?
0 times.
Never once. They just vet the deal. And when the deal has enough equity in it and enough margin, they don't give a crap what Legacy's personal finances look like. He's only borrowing $1 million for a house that's worth 1.4. They say, there's $400,000 there. If Legacy pays us back as agreed, we're going to make $60,000. If he screws up, we're going to make $400,000. Our lenders almost want us to screw up because there's more money for them in a screw up than there would be in us paying them back as agreed.
Yep.
Yeah. And actually, it was funny because Michael and I go way back. So I was just listening to you on his show. I listened to all his episodes to this day. And you were on and discussing these same valuable points. I'm like, you know what? We have a business entrepreneurial part of our community. They got to hear this stuff too, because a lot of people, I've talked about this and they're like, it sounds like a scam, or what millionaire wants to give up their money? I'm like, why can't they just do it themselves? I'm like, because they don't want to do it.
Yeah. Or they don't have the knowledge to do it.
Good point.
I mean, it takes, for if I had $1 million and I made it through, I don't know, I won the lottery or something like that, and they were like, oh, why don't you go flip a house? I'd be like, where do I start? Yeah. It's impossible. You would not be able to do it unless you either paid someone to teach you or had an education prior to. So, yeah.
That's a great point.
It's just money grows if it moves. It's called the velocity of money. And so if someone like Legacy said, even outside of hitting the lotto, because those are fewer and further between, but like a really high-end surgeon, like someone that does plastic surgery right here in Newport Beach and in between boob jobs doesn't want to go flip houses. So they say, well, geez, I'm making a lot of money here I'm just saying, it's Orange County, right? Doing all these facelifts is that what it is?
Boob lifts.
Boob lifts. Oh, don't forget about the butt lifts.
What the heck it is, dude. I'm doing all these nose jobs and boobs and stuff. I make a lot of money doing this. I got a nice Ferrari and a beautiful home here in Newport Coast. I have no interest in learning how to do real estate. But why is it so fun?
Because you said boob lifts and face jobs.
Listen, man,
I'm losing it because Legacy's losing it.
Dude, that was amazing. That was funny.
I don't know about you, but boob jobs aren't popular in the men of my family. So,
I would agree.
So bottom line is there's guys out there that have money, that have liquidity, that don't want to just leave it in a checking account, that also don't want to learn how to do real estate. And in their perspective, we're the idiots because we're taking their money. They're doing no work at all, and they're making tens of thousands of dollars. When you borrow $1 million at 10% interest for 6 months, that right there is, I guess if you're borrowing $1 million at 10% interest, that'd be $50,000 they would make. So by lending me their $1 million that they've made over the last 3 or 4 years, and they're in plastic surgery, I'm just whatever, they're a law firm, doesn't matter what they are, and letting me have it for 6 months and then I give it back, they just made $50,000. That's the medium household income in America that they're making without doing anything at all. They're like, you guys are idiots. Yeah. Now, why are we willing to pay them $50,000? Because we just made $225,000 after paying them the realtor fees and everything else. So it's called private money.
Well, and from where you were before Legacy, because I know we want to keep this show to a shorter format, respect your guys' time, but would you say, thanks to the circles of influence, the education, as you just hinted at, it took time to learn. Clearly the deals process, has it accelerated at all, or is it always about the same type of average? Would you say, like, start to finish?
The speed that he does deals?
Yeah.
That's all relative. It depends on how big the project is and what risk we're willing to take. So I could, like, there was a one street we had 3 properties on. One was a little bit more of a complex, longer lasting deal opportunity, and then we bought one right next door to it, and that one took 4 weeks, and the other one across the street from that one took 7-8 weeks. So it just varies. I think the system that we have now and what we've learned, we're able to take a property, know exactly what's going to happen from start to finish, have all the details planned out, a Gantt chart showing what the weeks look like, and we have processes in place that allow us to find the contractor if he takes too long, and we kind of have a gauge on how to move about. So I think, yes, my circle of influence and the people around me, and watching Cole and learning from other people that are doing it at a higher level, have allowed me to do it way faster. But it's the ongoing growth that I have. I'm hungry to learn how to do it better, even though I feel like I'm doing it at the best I have, the best that I can right now. I feel like I'm constantly wanting to get better at it because I want to minimize the time so that I can free up more of my time.
So the real variable is just the scope of work. Is it just lipstick a pig? We're putting paint and carpet and we're done? Or is it a full gut rehab? Is there an addition, right? Like, because when you do, so there's 3 levels of design.
So you guys aren't flipping everything, like the whole remodel and everything. So it depends, right?
No, we are.
Oh, you are.
We're flipping everything.
We
on
are.
The residential side. But there's 3 levels of design. There's structural, cosmetic, and interior. Structural design is knocking down walls, doing additions, doing a pop top where it was a single story is now a 2-story, or expanding into the backyard. He did a job that was only a 1,200 square foot house. They added an additional 1,320 to make it a 2,500 square foot house.
Wow.
And we're doing stuff like that. Not only is there more work to be done, but then there's permits from the city, and you're at the I wonder what you call it, the mercy of the city pushing those permits through, versus if you're buying a house that's just cosmetic, you're not doing much structural, maybe moving a wall here or there, but it's mostly just, maybe gutting it to the studs, but you're not moving walls or adding square footage where there's a lot of structural design. It's just cosmetic, repainting, recarpeting, putting up new drywall where there may be some mold. You can go through those quicker. So, and then there's the ones that are, like I said earlier, just lipstick a pig. You get those on occasion where the house is like turnkey. You just update the kitchen, put in some stainless steel appliances, some better countertops, backsplash, new flooring, new carpet, new paint, and you freaking hit the market in 3 weeks. So that's the variable. Once the houses are listed for sale, there's something called DOM, which is days on market. Every city has its average DOM. So you just need to talk to the realtors what that looks like. And if you're priced right, then you'll fall into that window. And that's really it, man.
Nice. I like it. So
cool.
Well, I mean, we could dig deeper into this, but that could be another show. So
we're just gonna have to have this guy back on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, legacy. We only talked about this like 2 years ago, and then again last year. But it's okay. I won't hold you to that.
It's the timing. Right now is probably the best time.
The time's got to be right. So here's a little side note. There's people hearing this right now. What if they want to be on Team Legacy, Team Cole? What do they got to do?
Come to Thrive.
Besides come to Thrive.
Yeah. The website's 10thrive.com. Best way to hit us up. We're both pretty active on Instagram. I don't touch anything else my team does. I respond to 80% of the messages on Instagram. So I'm just at Cole Hatter, and he's just, what do you?
Legacy Perez _.
Okay. There we go.
It's like a baseball slide to home run.
We always include all these links in the podcast, in the actual blog notes for the website. So all that stuff will be up there because the followers know that stuff. But again, guys, I'm sharing the screen for the video feed, 10thrive.com. And actually, real quick, we've got, there he is. There's the site.
Hey.
Look at that guy.
Look at that sharp guy.
That's a stud.
It looks like he had a face job.
A face job.
And then obviously, real quick, I had to answer your question. Here's a rough idea of a heli skiing package. So I had to at least answer some.
Nice.
So, if you go on, we're doing 1 day of heli, then we're doing some resort skiing, and then we're going to go to another mountain and do snowcat where they drive you into the backcountry.
I've done that. I just haven't jumped out of a helicopter. I would make sure they're at least 10 feet in the air, and I would buckle up and jump out. You know, I'm not going to let them.
That's what I want to do, but they won't let you. They say, no, we have to land the helicopters, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to find a Red Bull option later.
That's back to that ask for forgiveness as you're jumping out. Sorry.
I would totally do that.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we want you to go to attendthrive.com, but you can always find Cole. Besides on the Instagram, you can go to colehatter.com. Everything about him is there as well. But again, obviously attendthrive.com, create your legacy, make money matter. I've been going there for years now, so just go up.
I gotta
Looking at that page, it says create your legacy. I got one right here.
Yeah,
so,
you literally helped create a further legacy.
I feel like I owe him like $1 or something, like trademark.
Like $1.42 maybe.
and actually, one last note: legacy, wasn't Thrive Make Money Matter your first big speaking experience?
Well, yes, I got to share my story on stage, which was really cool. So yeah, it was definitely one of the biggest. But I don't know if you're aware, but this year I totally have a legit speaking spot.
What do you say?
Hi.
And that's something else that it's one of the things I love about promoting Thrive is that when you go year after year, you see this happen. Like Sonya now on stage, Legacy back hardcore on stage. You just keep seeing people move and grow. And I think that's a testament to the power of a community and that inner circle of influence. Like, oh, wow, dude, if you find the right community, you're just going to keep leveling up. So
cool,
that's
man.
just me anyway.
All right.
Well, listen, final words of the show. You guys get to close it out. Each of you, anything, all-encompassing message leave behind. We dropped so many bombs today, but I mean, legacy first, then Cole. Like, is there anything that you're trying to leave behind to the world out there when you get on stage that you're kind of a theme behind what you're doing?
Don't talk about face jobs.
No face jobs. Actually, yeah. I mean, I know Philip McKernan says a legacy is not something you leave the world; it's something you give it. And I feel like, constantly working hard to achieve whatever goals you want to do and knowing that it's possible. I mean, there's people left and right that don't have the things that the people out there have, for the ability to do what you want to do and just apply yourself and really find what you're really good at or what you enjoy, what you've been doing for a very long time. Find that certainty that you do it with, and then apply it into whatever new venture you want to do, and put your head down and just keep drilling and keep working. And I think that's what I've done that I know works. And that's what I believe that if anybody does, for that matter, I'm not any more special than everybody else out there. Is just constantly putting your head down, going to work, and that success will start to creep in. And then you'll start seeing the other side of, or the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. And I feel like that's a message that I want to share with everybody, because a lot of people say, oh, well, he's lucky he got to hang out with Cole. Well, there's a reason why we connected in the first place. There's a reason why I want to continue to grow. There's a reason why I have my purpose and I'm purpose driven and I'm on fire and I wake up every morning wanting more and more and more, because that's something that I've put into myself and allowed myself to channel that light through the Creator and wanting to be better. So I feel like all of us out there have it. Some just have a bunch of curtains covering the light that we truly have inside, and the ability to let go and open up is up to each and every one of us.
Wow, dude, strong words, my friend. Well said. Cole, what do you got, brother?
I mean, I think that was really good. I don't want to give someone too much to think about. I would just say this with what Legacy said. Remember this last part is that regardless of your religious belief system, whether you believe that you are reincarnated or that you have eternal life in heaven or that you die and become dead and that's the end of your story, we can all agree that the life we're living right now does end. And so I just want to remind people in what he just said, piggybacking off of that this is our one at bat. And the thing that I see is not afraid of, people aren't afraid of failure. People just never get started. People just keep saying, oh, we're already in August. I'm going to finish this year, and then I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do in January. And they've been saying that since 1998. And so I'm just going to encourage people to realize that life is precious, life is fragile. I've almost died a few times. I've lost people, and I have a really strong appreciation for how fragile life is. I think some people go through their whole life without any of those near-death experiences or without any real huge loss in their lives, and they assume that they have forever and that they'll get to it someday. So on the back of what Legacy just said, I would just add one more little thought, that don't hear that and say, he's right, and someday I will. Do it now, because this is your shot. This is your one at bat. And to use that baseball analogy, or metaphor, I should say, some people get to the bat and they're just hoping to get walked. There are literally people that won't swing at anything, and they're just praying to God, come on, 4 balls, let me get on base, throw a walk. I'm not going to go down in history as the guy that was praying for a walk. I'm going to swing, and I'll either go down swinging or I'll have a walk-off grand slam. But I encourage everyone to swing for the fences.
Yeah, don't wait for the ball to hit you so you can get that free walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, swing at it.
There you go. I love it. Listen, hang tight. I want to give you guys a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, Legacy Perez, Cole Hatter. You want to hang with him? You want to network with him? You want to grow? Come to attendthrive.com. Get a ticket. Come to Vegas. Party with us. Learn with us. And grow with us. But again, guys, treat it – I can't do it any better. Baseball, guys, swing for the fences. All right? So again, that's another powerful Live the Fuel podcast show. We're here to fuel your health, your business, your lifestyle. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching on YouTube. And we'll talk to you guys again soon. Remember, you too can live the fuel.